long-term memory. It's a curse. So my point being is you're going to have to change your behavior, and you're going to have to actually have the courage to publicly say that you disavow the people. You can't be a protectionist. That's why I boxed you, because you're trying to survive, but you're not doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love
Well,
you, bro, as a human. I'll say this to anyone. I love you guys, but like, if you're a wounded animal lashing out, it's not going to work out. It's dangerous. Um, you know, and I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like, none of us are perfect, but I want to be absolutely clear about that. The minute any kind of liability issue arises, I will absolutely stick to the tip of the sword, because that's how it works. You're gonna have to. I appreciate your courage. I appreciate your desire to talk, but you are absolutely gonna have to behaviorally address this.
but behavioral address will who? My behavior is all I'm in control of. I mean,
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you know, you can't be posting personal correspondence of mine wherever you get it from in violation of the law, and putting me and my family at risk by doing that, because that's what it was, reckless. You know, you can be a lion, but don't be reckless like that.
right. Well, I have a long memory too, and that's why I remembered when you decided to block me, and I was hurt by it because I thought we had a lot of agreement, or I agreed with a lot of what you were saying. But I am going to say this, and I mean it respectfully. You do get a lot of things wrong, and I understand the other side. Like, we can talk about it. You're like, I'm not happy about how it's gone. I've tried to be an advocate for you, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not. Again, we're not here on party business, but I was hurt. I said
No,
that in
no,
my
I'm
opinion.
with you. And that's what we're talking about. I accept your apology, and hopefully you accept mine as well. Um, my goal, as I've repeatedly said, is to make life better here in Washington. Party, non party, etc. The goal is to create something better. And, I'm all on board that. To do that, it takes a weird balance of self sacrifice, self inspection, and quite frankly, just charity. You know, you have to be willing to accept loss to bring prosperity. So, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. And hopefully, you understand what I'm saying too in that regard. I do understand that you advocated for a period of time and you got flagged for it too. I mean, look, dude, I did a very detailed inspection of the people that inducted you. And being in that orbit at that time, it marked you because of that very clearly. Whether or not, you know, your experience that way was like that, I knew who your handlers were. And by handlers, I mean the people that brought you in and put you in to party business, and how they did it, where it came from, who the organization was. You know what I'm saying? So, like, those things you gotta, um, I'm not going to say you got to shake off. I'm just going to say, like, if I see Andrew walking through a door, I know Andrew's not being uh, inducted. I know people tried to, but, like, I know how Andrew responded to that. So like it's one of those things you've got to be cautious.
Right.
I say that about myself. I'm very high profile.
Well, I don't know Dave McMullen very well, but I do know Kristen Brigman Brown, and we've worked together on things way before I had anything to do with the party. So I think that she's not. I think you're targeting the wrong person when it comes to that one for sure, because she's got she's got 10 kids. She has no money. It's like yeah, it was just so I was offended when Lisa went after her and when you went after her because of that. And how she's made it to her position is by countless hours of volunteer and sacrifice. It has, I don't know. So that definitely probably is part of what you might be talking about. That person may have had an influence on me joining the party, but for me to then turn and look at her and say, "There's something wrong here. There's this corruption." It's like it's just not. It doesn't. That's not aligned with my experience at all because she got volunteer of the year, and I mean you went after her for getting 8 grand, but I know for a fact she was in that office for 12 hours a day, all for the whole get out of the vote thing. So it's not like we can talk about it more if you're willing, but the number one thing is like I want to put the swords down and like break this wall down because this is like you got the wrong guy. First of all, I was on board with Bird, and I've had some, I've made some mistakes and all that, but um, I'm not. I don't need money. Like I don't know.
No, no, I'm with you. And look, man, there's a lot of balls in this ball pit, right? I mean, literally, it's a large body of hundreds of people. And look, much of what you're speaking about, there are things about Kristen that you may not know, not related to money, but related to procedural actions, related to things that she's done to support the people that we're actually after. And I get that dynamic. I don't think I really uh, pinned her up in any other way other than to say she did receive money, that it's we do need to question it. That's something I do is audit things, right? And not question the intent of the money, but the fact that the money was being spent by the party when the budget for the party was so low, and what purpose did that serve? That was the point of that inspection. And then second to that, though, the thing is that I'm very aware, I've extensively journaled this, that there are um, corrupt actors who influence people, and that people, my biggest complaint, I think Andrew can speak to this, Vivian 299 can. My biggest complaint is people that are being influenced even after they've been told what's going on. They're allianced, right? They don't look at. To me, I mean, here's what it comes down to. The reason the government at the federal level will hire me any day I ask is because they know that when they hire me to do something, I will absolutely put the interest of the government first, right? And they know that if that interest violates an ethical rule or a legal rule, I am the first person that will come out and say I can't do that because it's illegal. There is a paradigm here. This means even if it costs me my income, even if it costs me my health insurance for the month, because I said no, they know I'll do that. And for that reason alone, the DoD will literally hire me anytime that I apply for a position. So 299 spoke to that earlier. You really have to treat the party that way too. If you see something, you have to say something. If something doesn't get done, you have to keep saying it, even if it costs you your position. And that's just kind of my thing, you know. I think people need to stand up more to that, Brian. I was disappointed with you and Christian for not doing more of that. You know, it seemed to me at least that things were just kind of sliding through. So, yeah. Anyway, I mean that's my take, dude. I'm willing to mend fences, build bridges, etc. You know, we like Vivian said earlier, unity. Dave said all of us. You know, unity is key, but we really have to have due diligence too. All right, I'll let you respond to that, then we'll go to Vivian and close out.
Well, it depends on what you're talking about, I guess, because if it's about the party exclusion, which I did not agree with, that I thought, there should be a way to work this out, whatever. But it did turn out, I mean, you saw some of my threads on my main account. Um, it did turn out that they had some ground to do what they did. And I don't know what you have in the works or what's going to happen. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's where we came to a head. And the same thing with Kristen. But I will say, um, the application of the rules and the laws and all that stuff is not always fair. And even the laws themselves are often unjust. And we all know what happened to President Trump. And uh, our founding fathers were outlaws. So I know you want to be a stickler about everything. And I understand everything should be ethical, everything should be moral. But it's actually almost impossible to go through your day, go through your life, and do everything perfectly because apparently the laws and the books are so convoluted and long that it makes it impossible. And that's all I have to say. Go ahead.
All right, Viv, close us out.
Well, okay. So you said our founding fathers were outlaws. I don't even understand that because they're the ones who wrote the laws, who wrote our Constitution. So what laws were they outing in the first place?
The
There's
laws of
no
England?
laws. Well, no, but we were declaring independence from England, right?
How
So,
did that go for us?
I'm sorry.
How did that go for us? Was it easy, or did people start shooting at us?
Well, the founding, look at we went to war with England to declare our independence.
Yeah.
So, so to me, it seems like the founding fathers were trying to establish our country as a nation independent of England, right? So,
That
so
made
yeah,
them outlaws.
if we go to war,
They had to
what?
hide that, right? That their names on that list. Some of those people were executed for having their names on the list. Many of them, they were outlaws. So I don't understand what.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the founding fathers who wrote our Constitution.
Yes, many they were outlaws. I'm saying they were outlaws, and they were persecuted by the redcoats. That's how a war started. So they broke the laws of England. They broke the laws of the king.
Right. They
Yeah,
Many.
but
justified it with the Declaration of Independence, but it still did technically violate the English law.
Right.
Correct. They still were outlaws in the eyes of the king, who didn't recognize the newly constituted nation. Um, that is correct. But I got to speak to an important point in this discussion. That's history. The United States was formed, and it was based on a contract of law. Uh, that contract of law and representation is current standing. I disagree with the variety of laws, um, but there is culpability for non-compliance with the law. That's something that's just very important to remember. The one thing that we have in our societal construct is this contract of compliance and this contract of order and representation. I think what most of us are speaking about is a contract of representation is being broken, which resulted in an imbalance of law. Go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, so I mean, that wasn't my primary point. My primary point is that, oh my God, I totally lost track of train of thought here because of the one thing that Brian said about, our Constitution. Um, but I do think that, so much of it, so much of our um, nation's foundation has been convoluted by interpretations of the how our Constitution was established, how it was written. So that is the main problem. And Brian, I'm not discounting what you're saying. I'm just saying that we all have a different viewpoint, and how we're educated, and what our country means to us, what really means to be an American. That is what I think. That's what we need to get back to, is trying to find a middle ground there, because so many of Americans have given up their lives, have died to establish the country that we have, the freedoms that we have. And we're not a democracy. We're not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic,
You sound like a
which is what the founding fathers intended. That is the main. I think so many people have, misconstrued our nation, how it was established, and so we need to really, re-educate ourselves on what we are as a nation. We are a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy, which really, democracy is detrimental to any sovereign nation. A democracy is not freedom. A democracy is control by government. We're
I'm
not
with
Well,
you
and
on
controlled by
that.
government.
specifically by mob rule, right?
Right, exactly. We're not, you know what? A democracy is control by a mob rule. And democracy is not providing freedoms the way the Democrats would like us to think.
No, I'm with you
So,
100% for sure. But I would
yeah. So,
also point
yeah,
to
I mean,
what happened to Mr. Crowl around 2016, and my other point, what happened to Donald Trump. Uh, that he probably would have spent the rest of his life in prison if he didn't win the presidency. So it's just, uh, I'm just saying that nobody's perfect and the laws are all messed up. But I'm with you on the ethical and the moral parts, and I hope you guys can see I'm not a monster. Like, I've made myself, I played into it and I had a little fun, but whatever. I'm a little dick faggot or whatever. It's like,
I mean, look, dude, I'm tell you, I'll be the first one to tell you or anyone else, go fuck yourself. Andrew's gonna point out small dicks if he thinks someone has one. It's,
Oh yeah,
you
I
know,
just
it,
love talking shit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like really lay into you hard. Well, I did mean to lay into you hard, but not like personal. I just like having fun. I'm sorry.
look,
I'm,
we're not enemies. Like at the end of the day, we want to fix
yeah.
this state. So I hope we can continue to work on this together and like figure it out. But um,
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be clear with you. We're not working with the Pierce GOP in any capacity at this point because they're effectively an enemy combatant. They've positioned themselves that way through very weird legal uh, demands. And so the nature of that relationship is defined by that legal demand. That being said, what is being done is that there is and we publicly talked about this, there is a reorganization going on in Pierce County and including a very large number of statewide counties and people in the state to effectively reorg Pierce. And it's being done through a multitude of channels. And, I'll clearly say, I'll publicly say this any day. McMullen has been identified as somebody who is not representing party interests, not just because he excluded me, but because of the things that he's doing. And, this is my point in saying this is you think about party business, think about what is the party, what is the party doing, because the party is not just a county chapter, the party is all kinds of counties, a state, a federal level, private organizations, third parties. These are the party. It's very uh, nebulous. So you don't necessarily have to uh, do things through your party chapter to be effective for the party. And in the reverse, there are certain things that you have to do in a county chapter to be effective for the party. So a lot of what you'll see out of the working group that orbits around me, and vice versa, I'm orbiting around them. It's really what we call a community collective. We don't exclude someone because they have a background, because that doesn't really relate to our goal, right? Like you have a criminal history, and I blasted you on it absolutely because mine came into questioning context. I've got a criminal history on the docket too, even though my shit got thrown out. It was real, you know what I'm saying? And we all go through shit. But the point is, none of us will ever reject someone on the basis of a past criminal history or a past expressed viewpoint. The biggest violation is, are they acting in the interest of the party itself, but more aptly, the people that the party represents? Is what we're doing allowing party business to be accomplished, right?
Eric,
Like with Pierce, it's not. Go ahead, Pierce.
Eric, I just wanted to say that what Pierce County did to Semi Bird, not allowing him up on the stage at the convention. after he won 70% of the delegates at the annual convention. I mean, you know what? Maybe Pierce County, they're entitled to not support a candidate, as a district. But then the fact is that you don't allow the nominee that the delegates voted for, you don't allow him to up on the stage to speak, especially during the crucial primary season. That tells you something. That is so wrong. I mean, you know what? They could prefer Dave Reichert all they wanted, but then you need to give the other guy a chance to speak. You need to give him the same opportunity to speak because he won the delegates. He was overwhelmingly nominated by the delegates. So that to me that was just like the bellwether of where how corrupt the Pierce County GOP was. And
It woke a lot of people up. That created a very big echo. Go ahead,
right,
Viv.
right, exactly. So you know what? You need to let the people decide. You cannot let a select group of politicians or what's the word? People that have the power or whatever. You can't let them decide for you. The people need to decide what's best for them. And so if you shut them out, you don't give them a voice, that is completely a negative for people, for voters. They get turned off by that.
Well, and not only that, Viv, but I'm going to bring up something that some very smart people have said recently, which is this. If you do not include people, they are not subject to the rule of the party. And boy, man, some people you do not want outside the rules of the party, quite frankly, because they are very capable, very accomplished. They will do shit that you can't control, right? So Andrew's brought this up before. The worst thing you can do is exclude people from the party because they will go redefine the party and they don't have to play by the rules.
Hey, I don't want to turn this into a discussion because I know you're trying to close it down, but I want to mention one thing, and that is that Reichert, I think, was the best asset for Ferguson. And I think the Pierce poison got us that.
Yes. No, I agree, and that's the thing is we all leave this space tonight and fall into slumber and go back to our daily grinds. I think maybe the most important thing to say is think of who you are, what you represent. If you're an elected official, think about who you represent and who they are. And then as we all move forward, let's work to be inclusive. Let's work to not exclude people unless there's like a real good cause, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm excluding Pierce right now because they're a wounded animal who's lashing out. I'm okay with that. Uh, Brian presented some compelling speech tonight that makes me want to include him, but I don't trust him, so I'll include you, but not trust you until I have more reason to. Hopefully, you understand what I mean when I say that. I love you as a human, you know, and hopefully everyone else feels that way. I don't know. Any final comments, and I'll hit the nuke button.
Well, you know what? The thing is, Sammy Bird was pretty much Bernie Sanders from our party. You know, he was treated the same way Bernie Sanders was, and pretty much the same way that Joe Biden was in this last primary, when they just sort of, removed him and just selected Kamala Harris to replace him. So this is this is the thing when this is not supposed to happen with the Republican Party. That's not who we stand for. We don't do that to our candidates because we have a process. We have the delegation process that happened in Washington State was for a reason. So, many of us felt like we were completely dissed, because we wanted that candidate and it was taken away from us for no reason at all. And it was mostly by Pierce County, by the way.
Yes, I understand that, but I believe, and I wasn't there for the convention when he won the endorsement. I don't know how they kept him from having a speech or what happened there, but I do think that the PCOs were trying to represent their constituents and were voting in their interests here in Pierce County. So you have to take that into account when Pierce County decided to go against the GOP and endorse Reichert. It was within their rights to do that, whether we like it or not. I think it was, but other than that, I want to say thank you guys for letting me listen in and for having me talk.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. The fact that they didn't even allow Sammy Bird to get up on the stage, that's the problem.
Was that at
You
the
can't
state
do that.
convention, or was that at a
Yeah,
Pierce event? That
at
was the
the,
Pearson convention.
yes.
Yeah,
But they didn't, after Sammy Bird won the nomination at the state convention, Pierce County did not allow him to get on stage to speak
at the Pierce
after he
County
won the
convention.
delegation.
I think I've heard about this drama about the Pierce County convention. I wasn't involved with that either, so I'm just as new to the party as. But
But you realize that was like the peak of the whole that was like a turn of events for the whole thing, because Pierce County is represents a large electorate, right?
understood.
So what the Pierce County GOP did to him was just completely unconstitutional, uh, undemocratic, quote unquote. So I'm just saying that look at the final decision has to be with the voters,
I don't
and
agree with the
that didn't
decision to
happen.
not let him speak. I think that they could have made time to let him speak and it wouldn't have hurt anything. But I don't know if I agree that it was unconstitutional or undemocratic or anything like that. Because it, I do think they believe they were representing the wills of their constituents and their voters. But I'm, I'm not getting into an argument about it because that's in the past. And
I know, I know, I know. I agree. I agree. You're right. It's all
I
gone.
mean,
It's all.
is I like to say for the future, what would Jesus do, even if you're not a Christian, right? What would Jesus do? And, um, the reason I make this point is because, in Pierce, for example, I find there's this ultra, um, what do you want to call it, ultra religious influence in a lot of the politic. And I always remind people in this regard that Jesus actually was a felon himself who surrounded himself with other felons, derelicts, other, people who were physically disabled, which was a big deal back in the day. If you know history, you were a burden on society and looked down on. Um, the point is, really that by including all of those people, something big happened, right? And then by those people really getting excluded is what made something bigger happen. And with Pierce, as many of you have seen, what's happening is effectively Pierce is being slowly abandoned by a large number of people who have basically said, we're just not going to show up to meetings, we're not going to put money in the kitty, we're uh, not going to um, entertain things outside of Pierce County, meaning other counties, meaning the state, etc. So, these things do have a ripple effect, responding to what you said, Vivian, and sometimes they just have to play out. Um, this is the check part of the balance system, right? When that
But,
glass gets too full, you got to pour out some water.
right, I agree totally, Eric. But I'm saying that because of the weakness that Pierce County showed, that they didn't get behind what the voters wanted. They really could have made a huge impact if they just said, okay, this is who the delegates voted for. 70%, right? 70% of delegates wanted Semi Bird. If they just um, made a statement and said, okay, we're gonna go with the people, they would have changed the entire landscape of the primary. They didn't.
Yeah, I think that was a huge mistake on their part, but uh, they're only worried about Pierce County, so not this. They're only concerned with Pierce County. So as far as Pierce County delegates go, I don't think that the numbers worked out that way. But they should have had him on anyways. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, yeah, and Pierce County is pretty huge, probably larger than King County
We saw
by a
what happened
percentage.
with Wank and Lisa working on that campaign, so that's the kind of thing that I want to see. Uh, that Keith Swank is the biggest political win I've seen in this state in my entire lifetime, and I need more of that. So, what I think Pierce County is thinking about Pierce County first, and the governor thing was just it was there was just so many issues that we run into in the governor race. And, that wasn't really my focus after the primary. I wasn't happy with the candidate. I think he was really soft and just awful. But I I'd like to move on. Like, yeah, we need to fix our state for sure, but y'all need to dig in together. Kind of like what happened with Swank. If we're gonna have wins in Pierce County,
Yeah, we'll do that. I think, the strategy in Pierce is complex. The strategy at the state is pretty easy. It's go Trump or go home. And here in Pierce, quite frankly, it's going to be go Trump the more Trump moves into the region. So we'll see how that shifts the body. I'm looking forward to this upcoming election cycle to see how midterms go. All right, guys, I'm calling it. It's 3:19 in the morning. It's time to go to bed. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate everyone being here, even the ones that we threw out to begin with. All right, fuckers. Take care.
You
I
too, Eric.
you
Good night.
See, is that so fucking